Welcome into the original Gangsters Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Burnstein. Today, we're going to deep dive the Chicago outfit in 2025, breaking down the Windy City Mafia in the mid 2020s. Where do they stand a quarter century into the new millennium? We're going to talk about the different crews, who's got the day-to-day power, who are the elder statesmen, who are the young up-and-comers, and just really kind of give a state of the union, if you will, for the preeminent Midwestern mafia organization. I've said this, and I'll keep saying it. The mafia isn't dead. Its power, the apex of its power, is a thing of the past. The mafia will never have the level of influence and sway and unadulterated juice that it had in the mid 20th century into the latter half of the 20th century. But when RICO began to be utilized by the federal government and the floodgates opened for informants and cooperators, the heyday was over with. But that doesn't mean that the mafia is dead or is a thing of the past. It still exists. And in Chicago, I think you have a really strong example of how it evolves and it changes, but it doesn't go away. And there are people out there that try to sell you on the fact that the mafia in the 2020s is no longer, active, that there's very little activity. There's very little influence in white collar society, that, things are, gambling's legal now, marijuana's legal now. Who needs organized crime? And again, it's not, two things can be right at the same time. This is a group in Chicago is a perfect example. Again, represents the whole country. Violence is a lot fewer and far between. It's been a couple decades since murder was a tool utilized by organized crime across the country. So if you're being less violent and bodies aren't dropping, you're going to drop as a priority on the federal government's punch list. So again, let's kind of go into how Chicago represents this bigger evolution in the way organized crime and the Italian mafia is across the country. And again, Chicago is changing, and you have to evolve or you're going to die. All the power right now is in Cicero. It hasn't been in Cicero for it had been about a decade and a half since Cicero had the day-to-day power, back when Mike Sarno was the acting boss in the late 2000s. Right now, we've been reporting at OG Pod, as well as our companion web magazine, The Gangster Report, that the generational passing of the torch right now is going through Cicero and a group that I've coined the term the Sarno Boys, a group of 2 to 3 dozen guys that were brought into the mob under Sarno's leadership. Big Mike Sarno, Fat Mike Sarno, Large Mike Sarno, one of the more respected, feared, powerful mafia dons of the modern era, has been locked up since 2010. It's got about another 7-8 years, I believe, to do. on an extortion case that took him down. But the guys that he put in place, the guys that he inducted, his guys, a lot of these guys are alumni of the 12th Street Players Street Gang in Cicero. You have a really, from what I can understand from talking to people on the street, law enforcement, a mix of tough guys and smart guys, guys that are great with technology and know how to white collar racketeer. And then you get the dyed in wool gangsters, a lot of them former 12th Street players who are just, I would say more gangster to the core than LCN to the core. But just like Chicago has a rich history of street gangs becoming kind of farm clubs for the outfit, dating back to the 42 gang, and the C Notes on the west side in the Grand Avenue crew. There's been a lot of groups like that, and right now the big street gang feeder club is the 12th Street Players, which dates back, I believe, to the 70s, early 70s, as a street gang, and just more recently has turned into a feeder operation. A lot of the leaders of the 12th Street Players in the 80s and 90s are guys that when they got to be getting into middle-aged, transitioned into the outfit. And these guys have been empowered by Solly D, the Godfather, Salvatore De Laurentiis, just like Mike Sarno, one of the most revered, respected, impactful mafia dons in America right now. And he's obviously slowed down. He's in his 80s. He's not really a day-to-day administrator in any way, shape, or form. Delegates quite a bit. Has been battling health issues. I think he beat cancer at some point in the last couple of years, and is just enjoying his back nine. And he's been, in a lot of ways, he's been the face of the outfit. After after Johnny Bananas DeFranzo got out of the game and had to retire, and power went from Elmwood Park back to Cicero. And Solly D was at first kind of a diplomat, a dignitary that was making sure that everything was copacetic between Elmwood Park and these new Sarno guys, which back at the time, I guess, in the late 2000s, early 2010s, the fresh crop and some of the OGs that were maybe not. This group is insular. They're clannish. They don't really, not to say they're not connected, but they look out for each other. To make a link to another crime family, I would say the best analogy is to the Merlino guys in Philadelphia, where the oath is more to their friends and their mentors and their crew, more so than the overall organization. That's the feeling I get from researching this group of Sarno boys, a lot of them alumni of the 12th Street Player Street Gang. So very close-knit group, diverse group, guys that have been given the mantle of power in the last couple of years. And going over to the Grand Avenue crew and talking about the Godfather of Grand Avenue, Albert Vina, Albie the Falcon, who had been the street boss, or is the street boss, maybe in name, and now is, from what I'm told, going into more of an advisory capacity, allowing these Cicero guys, the Sarno boys, to take the controls day to day, quarterback this thing, and that's part of the evolution. It's a throwback. More street rackets in a lot of cases, less racketeering, more brute force, less finesse, and this Cicero crew, or crew within a crew, they have penchant to be cowboys, and we've been reporting both here again at OG Pod and at the companion website Gangster Report. We've been reporting some dust ups in the last year, and how Solly D has had to try to rein these guys in. There was just an issue that we reported on with the Latin Kings this spring, or earlier this month, where or late last month, I think it was late March, an incident that led to a sit down, and everything's good now, and everything got resolved. But some old street gang beefs from 30 years ago bubbling up now, when some of these guys have some LCN juice now, and are kind of feeling themselves, and maybe resorting back to old antics. But that's just where we are, and the powers that be, meaning Solly D and Albie Vina and Tootsie Caruso over on the south side, Rudy Fratto and Elmwood Park. It's a consensus that this Cicero crew is the future of the Chicago outfit, and the future is now. The future is in 2025, and they've been in the driver's seat now for the last 2 years. Let's not forget about Salvatore Catadella, who was Mike Sarno's top lieutenant, right-hand man, underboss. He's the quiet Obi-Wan Kenobi-like elder statesman now, that him and Rudy Fratto, really, Albie Vina, that are mentoring this group of guys, bringing them, trying to smooth out some of the rough edges. Some of them are social media savvy. Gigi Ravito, who has kind of emerged as the face of the younger Cicero generation, is all over social media promoting his restaurant, Capri, which is a legitimate business, and it does big business in terms of, it's always crowded. It's great food. I've been there. It's an excellent dining experience, and the food is authentic and really tasty, and prices are affordable. And Gigi does a great job as a spokesman, but there's also perception is reality, and he is on social media, has been quite a bit. You can see him there on a pretty daily basis, and in some of his travels, if you're paying attention, he's posting from events around the country. Ostensibly, some of them are restaurant conferences and pizza making conferences, but if you scratch beneath the surface there, you see, based on my reporting, a lot of politicking, a lot of outfit politicking for Gigi Ravito. And he's a guy that's built a network and a group of guys around the country that he can reach out to, that have respect for him, that he can talk all kinds of business with, legitimate business, but also outfit business. So I know Solly D wanted him to peel back on that a little bit, and I think he has. He's kept it more to just the restaurant and isn't peacocking as much as maybe he was last summer, where he took kind of a tour of a number of East Coast cities. And you could see it on his social media. And as I said, based on my reporting, was when the social media camera went off, he was meeting with LCN heavies, talking outfit business. And we know that he's a guy that Solly D likes and respects, has used him before, used his place, at least, according to a federal indictment of a guy we'll talk about in a second, his place was used as a collection point for a debt for a business associate of Solly D's who had some outstanding money, and some of the Cicero younger guys were trying to collect it, and some of the money was exchanged hands at Capri. But again, Gigi hasn't been in trouble with the law in about 20 years. He went and did a prison sentence for drug dealing, assault, but has been clear of handcuffs, I think, for about 20 years. And who has not been cleared of who has been in handcuffs more recently, Paulie Carparelli, Paulie C, Paulie Cigars. I'm told that he was the one that got into some fisticuffs with some Latin Kings last month. He's also a guy that likes to peacock, but just like Gigi, is a guy that has a lot of respect, and people know that they're formidable as both legitimate businessmen and up and coming outfit figures, according to our sources. So Paulie had to go to a sit down to make things right with the Latin Kings, we're told, and just in general, kind of has to peel back a little bit on some of his behavior. And we should talk about how Capri, where Gigi has not been in the kind of, Paulie Carparelli took a case 10 years ago for extortion, for trying to collect that debt, and again, part of the money exchanged hands at Gigi's restaurant. But Gigi nor the restaurant have ever been implicated in any wrongdoing, any illegal activity. We should say that. But Capri Restaurante right now in Burr Ridge is, without question, the outfit hotspot. That's where all the movers and shakers are on a pretty regular basis. And I'm talking guys from Cicero, the overall Cicero crew, the Sarno boys, ex-12th Street players, and all the Elmwood Park guys. Rudy Fratto's there, not every night, but a handful of nights a week. And he's treated like a god there. And that, let's talk about Rudy for a second. And he's in his 80s now, and kind of a faction boss, I would refer to him. He has kind of his own family within a family with those Elmwood Park guys. He's a capo, but he's more powerful than a capo. There's a lot of speculation that he's consigliere. We don't have any. I thought I confirmed it, but I'm just going to say that he's a faction boss now, and I've used that term with him before, but he's very powerful, and I would say more powerful than what a consigliere would be. So he could be the consigliere, but he's also his own. He's the boss of his own thing within the thing. And that's not to say that there's any issues between him and Solly D. Him and Solly D get along just fine now. But I also know that he's allowed to kind of do his own thing. And Elmwood Park, everything in Elmwood Park falls under Rudy. And Rudy is a conduit to Cicero and other groups. and is looked at by both the Elmwood Park guys and the Cicero guys as a mentor, as an elder statesman, as somebody that can go anywhere in the country and doors open and red carpets are rolled out and respect is given. Pudgy Matassa, the same thing. I lean to believe right now Pudgy Matassa is probably the consigliere officially. But again, I don't have that confirmed. But either way, a lot of the titles in the outfit, they're loose, man. And sometimes the title doesn't do the person and the power that they wield justice. So I think that sometimes you got to take those titles when it comes to the outfit with the context that they need to be taken in. And so we got the Cicero guys who are taking everything, taking the torch and running with it. They got the day-to-day. They're being advised on a pretty regular basis by a who's who of outfit mentors. So there's a lot of built-in guardrails and kind of plug and play advisory spaces that have really helped this group of guys that are all kind of in their 50s, a couple guys in their early 60s, some of them in their late 40s, the so-called Sarno boys. So they're being advised by Large Mike Sarno from behind bars. They're in contact with him on a regular basis. He provides counsel. He's helped settles beef. Sometimes, according to some federal court filings a couple of years ago, he was taking a piece of action that was coming on the street that the Cicero guys were sending to him. Albie Vina, street boss from Grand Avenue. Rudy Fratto, faction boss, possible consigliere, acting consigliere from Elmwood Park. Solly D himself, who still chimes in, and will send word. And then a name that we haven't heard in a while, who I'm told, although he is still retired, he is a voice that people are listening to right now, and a guy that has helped smooth over some of these rough edges with these Sarno boys, and that's Big Mike Spano. Mikey knows Spano, who came out of prison and kind of retired after leading the Cicero crew in the late 90s. I'm told that he's been relaying some messages for Solly D to the Cicero guys, and has been chiming in, and that his relationship with some of the Latin Kings helped stem that tide. But again, Mike Spano is not active. That's not what I'm reporting. Just that he's been sought for counsel, and in one or two instances has relayed some messages for Solly D. I believe he might relay through his son, Mike Spano Jr., allegedly. So again, this is a group that is changing, but is still very, very formidable. And it's a group that cannot be overlooked. It's a group that one guy just took a case, talking Grand Avenue. Bobby Dominic, is facing a tax case now, and Albie Vina, Bobby Dominic, Christy the Nose Spina, that's their territory, and Grand Avenue is still running, is still a tight ship. Cicero is moving and grooving. Elmwood Park, Rudy Fratto, Gary Gagliano, who's in Florida most of the year, but has a lot of boots on the ground in Chicagoland. Rudy's guys, Tony D and Bobby the truck driver, Bobby Avenatti, and Tony Dodi. So I don't see any scenario where things are slowing down. And if anything, they're ramping up. They're just changing. They're evolving. Southside, Tootsie Caruso, Nicky Ferriola, old man Joe Ferriola's former boss, Joe Ferriola's son, Nicky Spoons, is going to be eventually taken over for Tootsie Caruso. I believe he's acting skipper right now. Elmwood Park, we've reported before that there's talk that when Rudy Fratto finally cashes in his chips and goes to the big social club in the sky, which, let's hope it ain't for another decade, 2 decades. But when that happens, that Cicero will absorb Elmwood Park and will become a 3-crew Borgata. Right now, it's still 4 crews. But most of the power right now is in Cicero. And, Giancana, Accardo, you had a lot of power in that area. But in the 70s, it was more Elmwood Park, Melrose Park with Joe Aiuppa and Jackie Cerrone. Then with Ferriola and Carlisi, it went back to Cicero in terms of the day-to-day power. And then, the no-nos era, Johnny Bananas, it's Elmwood Park, but it's also Southside. Johnny Apes, Monteleone had the day-to-day power in the late 90s. And then it goes to Cicero with Mike Spano. I should say with Mike Sarno, who has it. Jimmy Marcello and Mike Sarno have it in the 2000s. And then it's in Elmwood Park. It's in Grand Avenue in the 2010s. Now it's back in Cicero with the Sarno boys. So I have no doubt that this is a group that will continue growing and expanding. I think they've been making guys this whole time. I think there's probably 50 to 75 buttons in the outfit right now. People get really, tied up and fixated sometimes on what the government says and how, the government put out a document 25 years ago that listed 30 guys and 25 of them are dead now. So that means there's only 5 guys left in the outfit. And I just think that's flawed logic. And then take into account what I'm reporting with Mike Sarno and making all those guys himself that are more loyal to kind of him and themselves and the crew. But I don't want to overstate that. Again, I think that's just the way I want to report who they are. Just explain to them they have more of that South Philly street corner mentality than the no-nos DeFranzo school of outfit finesse. And maybe that was foreshadowed by the fact that Mike Sarno had the family in the 2000s and Albie Vina and Solly D, who were, these were stick-up kids in their younger days. These weren't finesse guys. These were stick a gun into your gut and take your money guys. So maybe it makes sense. Sammy Cartadella is probably the wild card here. Sammy Cards, because he's like a ninja, man. He's like a samurai. You don't hear a lot about him, but his presence is felt, and he's one of the guys that keeps tabs on the Sarno boys. But the outfit is, it's like what Mark Twain said. I think, reports of my demise have been incredibly overstated. So outfit is alive and well. They're just, metamorphosizing and we'll see how the Cicero crew handles the responsibility. So far, it's been kind of par for the course. You know, it's 2 years later, and things are still moving forward. But there were some bumps in the road, and those bumps got smoothed out. And Solly D has faith in these guys. Rudy Frado's got faith in these guys. Albie Venus got faith in these guys, and that's why they're all stepping back and allowing this group to assume the reins and mold the family, mold the outfit in their image. And I should also say that these guys are politically connected and connected into the police departments and the court systems and the local municipalities. So there's that old, that old outfit X factor that was always in play with the government corruption. It's, from what I'm told, it's front and center with some of these Sarno boys that they've got their hooks into some city halls and police departments, and that greases wheels for them. So they're the future. They got the power right now. Albie, Solly D are stepping back a little bit. Rudy Frado's still on the scene all the time. He's 80 some going on 20. He likes the action. Albie does to a degree too. Solly D is not really going out that much. You can still see Rudy out and about on a regular basis, and he's the anchor, keeping all these guys in check on at least on a day-to-day basis. So that's where the outfit stands right now in 2025. Still active, still growing, just different. So we're going to roll out a State of the Mob for some other cities coming soon. We got a New England one that we recorded that we'll be posting shortly. Please like, share, and subscribe. Scott Burnstein, Original Gangsters Podcast, uncovering the underworld, one city, one region, one country at a time. I'll see you guys